So I'm gonna attempt to draw here. I have some of my tools here. Compass. Standard pencil. Eraser. 45 square. 30-60 square. Flat rule. 6 inches. I also have a measuring tape. And I'm gonna shade it in after some fine tip colors. So I'm gonna try to do a typical drawing. Some masking tape, a standard sheet of paper, and typical to my previous ones, something like that. That took I think a couple hours, a few hours to do. I have a few other ones on the wall in front of me. I have a star, some random kind of cubism, kind of some more patterns, just colorful pictures. Kind of cheer you up, give you a bit of a lighter view on things. I think you tend to be a bit more happy surrounded by more colorful stuff rather than dark ones. An absence of color. So what I did here is I took my paper, I think it's a 9x11 standard size, and I had to put some tape on the sides. Usually I'd probably do the corners, but I want to see the corners so I can bisect it and find the center. And I already kind of did that, but basically take the measuring tape from corner to corner and draw it out one side. I could use a rule, but that works too. And I have a smaller one, the 6-inch one, for more finer straight edges. I think that's all I'm going to use the measuring tape for now. It's just to get the length. It's about 12 inches across. Maybe even 13 inches. Depends on the day. So, good 13 today. We'll start with let's draw some circles, I guess. Let me make sure you could see it there. Take a pretty small radius. And start it off in the center. And draw it. Draw our circle. Then from there, we can make different points on it by using the previous scratches, I guess, from bisecting the square. So here we have a bunch of symmetrical. Oh, that one. Get it off. So we have some symmetrical now kind of guidelines, and we go from there. And I'm just improvising a pattern here. Nothing predetermined or anything. But we're going with the whole archaic type of geometry. the visible stuff in the historic sites where you see certain shapes of rectangles and circles, and usually they just take the circle and bisect it and go off of that, or a rectangle, or a circle inside a rectangle. It might be a circle inside a square. We can do that actually. We can work with a circle inside a square. Let's we have our circle, we have our guidelines. Let's stick it inside the square and see how that works. So we have our rulers here. Put all of them inside. Line them all up fairly straight. And that's how we put our square in. Now I have 3 lines, left, bottom, and top. Pretty straight. We want it as straight as possible. Once you have it like that, just bring them over. And you put the circle in the square, seat the round in the 90s. I might stick a human form in, but you might call me Da-Vinci if I do that. So I'm just going to keep it a bit more plain. No humans in here. Just the one drawn. So we have our circle, we have our square. We can put some 45s out of it. So let's start doing the 45s. First, I'll go corner to corner. Don't really need the 45. I can use a straight edge here. Sure how well you can see it, but hopefully you could see it. So we have a bit of a propeller here happening now. We can stick some leaves in though. We have our beams of light per se. Let's put some vegetation in. I could add a bit of leafy type of feel to it. So to do that, I'm going to draw a few more circles. It's all improv, so it's going to go how it's going to go. And if it goes, it goes. But can't say I'm pre-planning any of this. But most of my drawings are like that. Whoa, see that? We don't want that. It slips there. I want to try to keep the pressure somewhat on the compass. So I have a couple leaves there, one here. Let's add more. Plenty more leafies. And by leaves, I mean circles where they meet each other and kind of do the overlap. You end up having somewhat of a leaf pattern, some of an oval type of shape. Okay. Again, that one. Okay. And this will just give us some rough draft lines. And when I'm shading it in, that's when I get to pick and choose really of what lines, what form I want to make out of the draft lines that I already have. So I just want to make sure I'm getting all of them here. Looks like I got most of them. Maybe more here. Okay. 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 Doing okay. So we have our square. We have our leaves. I see at least 8. See 4 somewhat big ones. And some small ones. I see some triangles here. Kind of halves of circles. Some very nice shapes coming out. So we can do some more. Just take a straight edge, perhaps combination of a straight edge and 30-60. So we'll put that on there. And we can make another square out of it. I guess a T-square would be ideal, but this works too. Kind of line them up to the previous lines that I already had. So that way it can be somewhat square to the straight edges I already have on the sheet. But it's okay to be approximate. It's not exactly going to be measured with a protractor or anything. Micrometers and protractors not needed here. Okay. Trying to get this last line in somewhat straight. No, kind of a lefty. Okay. So there are squares. Let me connect the corners here. Square to square. You know, I wasn't really big on drawing in Russia, but once I arrived in Canada and did a bit of a trade school, I really started practicing more of this geometric shape. Even though I did show signs of interest in, I think it was elementary school, I did a geometric type of drawing of my name and just some rectangles and squares. Yeah, it was pretty immature, but amateur, I mean, rather than immature. It was very mature, but it was a bit of foreshadowing, perhaps even a premonitious like of what's yet to come. And because now my drawings are definitely more sophisticated, more intricate, more pleasant, I would think, rather than, you know, some teenager drawing some rectangles. We now have circles and squares, not just a rectangle. Now our, you know, drawing has the leaf and light and perhaps even some kind of form of energy that comes out of it, rather than before it was perhaps just took your energy from you trying to find out what it is that was drawn. Now you look at it and it expels an essence, perhaps. So we have our circles, so we have our squares. I think we can start to try and shade it. Not making it too sophisticated. Just a shorter video. Maybe I'll go probably around 45-minute video. I don't want to do an 8-hour long. Some of my drawings take about 8 hours to do. But this one is just for quick tutorial, give somebody an idea of how, because I think most people can do this. You don't really have to be an artist to do something like this. You have to have the right tool, maybe a compass and some straight edges. There's nothing really to freehand except for shading. So let's start with I like to go from inside out. That way I don't smudge the color. So we're gonna start to pretty much outline the shape desired. So I would like this. I would like this leaf shape that I was able to attain. And I ended up with 4 of them. You can always add more to the sides. You can always grab the pencil again or the compass and really add some more. But I'm okay with it right now. Trying to meet the goal of 45 minutes too. I don't want to go much more than that. Now for shading, I do different styles. I can cover the object desired completely without any of the paper being visible in terms of plane. Or I do kind of the way I do it now and just scratch it in. But still, there's plenty of paper left, but you definitely get to notice the color that I'm using. In this situation, you know, this purpley like color. And there's so many different names for them, but so we have that. Add a bit of this one. You know, there's probably a couple thousand of different tints and colors, and every single one could have a different name. Some of them is a term, some of them might just be a couple letters and a number. Depends who makes it. You could have some additive to it. It's not just one color. It could have some grain. Could be a car paint, could be a wall paint. So we're getting that. These, I wanted to go to yellow on the corners. That way it really shoots out what I'm drawing. So for now though, this will do like this. Let me just work it out from the middle out. And some of these drawings, you know, people make them. I guess it all depends who. But some of them are very intricate and it's pretty difficult to put a price tag on one of them. But some people, yeah, they do it for a business, for a hobby, and you could earn quite a bit doing it. even though you may not even consider yourself a professional. I guess it depends on how much somebody wants to give you for it rather than how good you are. So if you know somebody who wants to do something nice for you, you can always be reimbursed for something you make yourself, even though you're not quite somebody who makes something yourself too often, at least not professionally. Let's do a bit of green here, eh? So I'd like, you know what I want? I want a bit of a abnormal right now. Let's go wild for a second here. Okay. Now, there's a problem. If I want to put my palm on what I just shaded, what I'd like to do is just get a piece of paper and put my palm on the piece of paper. That way it doesn't smudge. Okay. I think I'm going to outline the object that I just shaded in. Okay. And you perhaps wonder, how do these paintings or these drawings, how do they sell for? Some of them for a lot, maybe millions. And I guess it's to each his own. But I would think it's pretty difficult to predict how much a painting or a drawing is going to be worth until it actually goes for sale. Like I stated before, it's a lot of it, I think, just depends on how much somebody wants to pay rather than how much it's worth. Because what it's worth is the material you used, maybe the labor for the person. So, and the labor for the person, I guess, for North America would be minimum wage. Because what else is labor worth but minimum wage? That's what our minimum wage, I would think, is based on, is on labor for a person. So you're just going to sit here laboring away creatively, even though you may think you're a professional. It's still just a form of labor, really. You put in an effort. You're doing something somewhat physical with your hands, with your mind. And somebody else decides to put a value on it after, and you're like, whoops. Kind of press something there. We're okay. I think we're still live. 23 minutes. We're okay. Okay, so just outlining with the green. I was ranting on there about something. Oh, yeah, the labor and stuff. Yeah, how somebody values this after that. There's a lot of variables involved, I think. A lot. That determine what your piece is going to be worth or what it is worth. Whether it's $5 or $5 million, the difference could be the signature on it, not what you have created, but who signed it. So, it's coming along, I think. Well, I have one that's a bit dried out. That's okay. I have one similar color. Okay, that'll work. And some of the drawings I do, they're pretty difficult, I would think, to repeat if you wanted to repeat it yourself, but not because I'm an artist, because I don't really consider myself one per se, but because there's certain ways that I develop these angles, these shapes, that unless you know, you're not going to know. So, and the only way to know is if somebody either teaches you or you have learned from previous experience. But it's not just, poke and you get it. It's not trial and error. It's knowledge passed on through either an academic institution or through some kind of other form of learning or being taught to you by someone. So it's interesting how somebody could be very good at drawing and they can draw you, a portrait of someone, but then someone who is not very good at drawing and cannot draw you a portrait, yet he or she is able to make something on paper that a professional is just clueless on how to repeat it. It's very interesting. Yet the professional sells a portrait, but the rookie that makes this shape that others have no clue how to replicate, he might have trouble selling it. But if you get a professional to sign it, perhaps there won't be much trouble. So hence I was saying it kind of really does depend on who wants to pay you rather than how good you are. Because a signature might just be the difference. Somebody who knows the signature and somebody who doesn't know the signature. But it could be the same drawing, just different signature, and the person doesn't want to pay because of it. So, not to get distracted here. Add a bit of orange. Kind of orangey. Some of these colors, they're not too definite. It depends on the light that you look at it at. It might look one color to me. It might look a different color on video. So I'm trying to not be too peculiar on what the name of the color is, because I understand on the video it might look completely different. It might be like one might be red for me, but for you it might look a bit more orange, or vice versa. Okay, so we got this kind of circular look on it with a bit of leaf, a bit of green, a bit of nature. I want to add my yellow. I'm gonna wait a bit. The yellow will go in the corners, I think. I want that there, but I think I want to go with something light. Maybe one of these, perhaps. I don't want too much of that though, because I have 3 of them and they're very similar. I already used 2, plus the red. And the blues and greens I used on the side. I'm gonna have to go with this one. I will have to do this. I thought of putting it there at first, and then I decided not to, but now I decided to again. It just seems to want to go. If she wants to go, you just give her, right? I'm not gonna hold it. You know, wants to be used, you use it. Just don't argue it, right? I understand you want to go, go. I'm gonna do it. It's getting done, one way or another. Being used. All right. I gotta fit our yellows in. I want to stick the blues up top. I want to match these two over here, but I want to leave the room for the yellow. So I'm gonna do it like this. Okay, and one on this side. Kind of want to match it. I want it to be symmetrical, so I don't really want to mess up one half of it being different than the other half. Because once the shading starts, I'm not gonna be using some eraser for it. It's gonna be pretty difficult to change anything once the contact is made. So I have to be very precise here. So we're getting there. Getting pretty close. So we got the blue, and we got the light blue. I'm gonna do at the bottom. And I think that'll give it some proportional symmetry. I think it'll work. It'll just make it pleasant for the eye. Because the eye likes symmetry. Not too sure about all the beholder stuff, but you definitely appreciate symmetrical type of viewings, regardless, what you are. You want to go abstract, okay, but you might get dizzy looking at it, because looking at something symmetrical gives you, uniformity. It's just, you can focus on it rather than look at it and be puzzled and not realize what you're looking at. What point of the drawing am I supposed to look at? But with symmetry, your eyes just proportionally focus. Your brain functions in a uniform type of manner. So, but perhaps some people don't want that. Not sure why. Like, you put your socks on your feet, or you put one on your foot, one on your ear. Maybe you want symmetry. Pants go on legs, sweater goes on arms, that type of stuff. So, proportion. We're a bit shy on the red. I'm going to use the red. And to use the red, I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to fill up these corners. Oh, we're about 35 minutes or so in. So, like I thought, I'm going for 45-minute thing. I try to have my videos at 45. but I might go a bit over. But that's okay. So we have a red. Don't want to look too evilish with the reds. I'm not trying to make any horns, so have to be a bit cautious of using the red because it's associated with anger, I think, the red. And I'm not trying to make that. I'm not insinuating it by using the red. Red is also appealing, seductive, so might attract a lady. Something nice and red. Maybe some men. Sure. Not too appealed. I like a lady in red, maybe, but for myself to pick red, not unless it's a lady in it. Okay, so we have our corners. Outside, I'm going purple. Right here. This definitely wants purple. So does that. And that. Okay. Yeah, well, red vehicle could be very appealing too, but lots of vehicles are referred to as ladies. So and purple, I guess that's a kind of a wealthy color. Used to be a difficult one to get maybe 100, 200 years ago. Plenty of it now. Not too difficult anymore. Okay. Oh, have a bit over here. Our yellows for the sides. Just get rid of a bit of pencil because the yellow doesn't cover up the pencil too well. A bit light. I think it'll really make it shoot out kind of. Kind of wanted to draw the eye into the center. But you wanted to absorb the whole piece, not just a few leaves in the middle. This red is supposed to go to here. And that one to there. Yeah, I can do that. Touch it up a bit. That's fine. Kind of have those on, so I can do it one here. Okay. And one last yellow. And I think I'm left with just the two big pieces in the centers. And I think we're going to go with a green. Kind of like the green because I have the flower and I want to have enough greenery, enough vegetation to complement the flower. Otherwise, where did the flower come from? How? It needs, photosynthesis. How did it grow? Green. That's how. It's a lively piece. All right. So let's not forget to sign it. Put my name on it. Don't want to go too far. I ended up about half the page, so I can put it close. I can even write it over like this. It's my signature. I'll just handwrite my name too. Put it right on it. Nah, go below it. And I guess the date. Put November 25. Couple X's there. 2025. So we got a signature. The name. Obviously, Igor Plouts. November. The date. We can box it in a bit. Give it a bit of a bolder look. And this drawing, it's only 45 minutes or so to accomplish. But it could bring in quite the revenue with the right signature. So if somebody out there wants to perhaps settle with some reimbursement for me, this is all I have to do. I put in 45 minutes and good to go, right? To send me your mailing address and this thing's in the mail tomorrow morning type of thing. I'm not really doing that. I don't sell my pieces just yet, but it is an idea for you if you're interested in doing it. Because that's what my channel kind of is. I just give people ideas on how to have a channel, what kind of stuff to stream. I don't really charge for any of this. A bit of purple over here, that's fine. Had a bit of freehand. And it's one of a kind. Nobody's ever drawn anything like this. I mean, kind of like this, but not exactly. No one's ever drawn this. It's just a circle and a square, really. It's not a Da Vinci, but it's definitely a type of Da Vinci. It's a circle and a square. That's what he drew. And then he stuck a guy in it. Oh, I guess he was the first one to do it. Perhaps that's why it cost so much to get one. But, the concept, the theory is very similar. It's symmetry, it's proportions, it's circles, it's squares, it's geometry, it's math. This is what sells. This is what people want to buy. This is what people want to look at. It just depends on the signature. And you can do it. I just did it. You can do it because I'm not really that gifted of an artist. So thanks for tuning in. And maybe I'll do one again later. we can put it up on the wall. Right beside the other one, eh? There we go. Now you have two of them. Well, and my other ones, I already showed them, I think. Now I have a lot of them. Thanks again.